So today on Ambition Blueprint, I'm excited to introduce Zach Richie, a true expert in nutrition, bodybuilding, and holistic health. Zach holds degrees in nutrition and dietetics and public health. He has spent years honing his expertise in body compositions, hormonal oppositions, and performance as nutrition. His journey is inspiring, from overcoming challenges with his own weight to managing a tumor that has turned every obstacle into fuel for his passion. He's not only dedicated to his growth, but he's also deeply committed to helping others transform their health and achieve their fitness goals. Zach, welcome to the show, and let's dive into this. So I know one of your favorite quotes that you sent to me was, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. Can you go into me like how that goes into your daily life?
Yeah, for sure. And so I think that that's just the easiest way to make the next day easy. And so is just preparing. And so a lot of people set themselves up for failure by just kind of not setting themselves up for success for the next day and so on, by not focusing on preparation. So I guess that applies to not only my work life, but every other part of my life as well. So whether that's my personal fitness goals, my relationship, as well as any sort of business endeavors that I have. So just putting the things in place ahead of time.
Yeah, making tomorrow easier, make today harder. Always be better than yesterday. That's the main
Sure.
goal, I would say, definitely. So I know you said you're weighing in at 280 right now. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. And so
How do you hold this weight?
force feeding at this point. So yeah. And so a passion of mine is pursuing my own fitness journey, along with obviously from a business perspective, helping others do the same. But as far as where I'm at right now in that goal, it's a building phase or an off season, as some would call it. More of the improvement season, as I like to call it, and that requires putting on size to bring the best package on stage whenever that time comes. So at this point, it's a lot of force feeding, hard training, and that's pretty much the life right now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of monotony.
So you compete, right?
Yes.
So like what got you into that role? Like what made you start to want to compete?
Yeah, always had a passion for it. As we discussed, prior earlier today, really same thing that got me into my field in regards to nutrition, fitness, health. Was growing up the heavy kid. So I grew up, in a family of pretty naturally just fit individuals, and somehow I guess I got the wrong side of the genetic pool, and grew up the heavy kid, and at some point in my life decided that's not what I wanted. And so I think it was early high school that I decided to educate myself and make that a focus of mine, and really got passionate about my personal nutrition and fell in love with training, and it just completely changed my life. So I went from really struggling and battling with my weight to what I did as far as putting my focus into improving myself. From there, I received a lot of different accolades from a athletic standpoint, in regards to high school athletics and things like that, and really saw what that decision made, and how that decision impacted me, and that kind of set me along this road in regards to what I decided to do. And so from there, I went to school for nutrition and dietetics, followed that even further into getting a master's in nutrition and then public health, and then moving into that specific field.
I would assume, are you bulking right now or cutting?
Yes, 100%. If
Bulking.
I was 280 lean,
So
that
what's your favorite food to bulk on then, or the
uh,
healthiest food just in general for anybody?
yeah, I'd say majority of my day consists of rice and some sort of lean protein source. So it's rice and ground turkey, rice and chicken breast, and maybe in the morning some cream of rice or some oatmeal. with protein powder, things like that. So it's very monotonous, very boring. I'm sure if I used, dirtier foods or more highly palatable foods, it'd be easier to get the calories in, but that wouldn't be what it would take to achieve my goal in regards to positive physique changes.
Yeah, one thing I also did want to ask you on. So I've heard this quote be thrown around a lot. It's like abs are made in the kitchen, not the gym. How true is that? Would you say?
I would say it's really true. Obviously, it's going to be easier to see your abs if you're training them, just because a bigger muscle is, it's easier to see a bigger muscle, even when there is some body fat. Whereas if you haven't really trained that specific area, obviously you're going to have to get leaner and leaner to be able to see such a small muscle. So they do require. I would suggest training them as well, but from a just physiological standpoint, we all have abs. It's just a matter of uncovering them as by getting rid of the body fat, and you can achieve that in the kitchen as far as dieting. But seeing them is going to be a lot easier if you've already built that muscle.
Yeah. What's the best way to get rid of that like body fat and those love handles?
It's just going to be consistency. Consistency in regards to your diet as well as training. And so, really, it all comes down to the law of thermodynamics, which is calories in and calories out. Obviously, there's definitely some nuance to that, meaning that we all have different diet histories. Whether that's someone who's been a chronic dieter may have a harder time losing weight now, or maybe someone has something else going on under the hood, making it more difficult for them to lose weight, whether that's hormonal issues going on, GI issues going on, or just something genetic. And so there are a lot of things there. But as far as for the general public, it's just going to be calories in, calories out. And so really paying attention to your nutrition, trying to stay in a caloric deficit. And that caloric deficit can come from dieting, so lowering calories, or you can create that caloric deficit from an increase in your output as far as training and staying active.
Does like weighing yourself in at that, like, does that play a part too?
Yeah,
Like, do you
definitely.
weigh yourself multiple times a day?
Not multiple times a day, because weight's going to fluctuate all throughout the day. I mean, my weight
Hmm.
fluctuates 8 to 10 pounds from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, and that's just food volume, inflammation, a number of things. So I usually tell people try to find a consistent time to weigh yourself, and that's usually first thing in the morning after you use the restroom before you eat or drink anything. That's going to be the most consistent weight that you're going to get throughout the day. And so if someone, let's say, decides to sleep in that day as compared to their normal time in which they wake up, they're probably going to have a lighter weigh in that day just because they gave their food more time to digest. Let's say if it's a morning that you woke up really early, yeah, you're probably going to be heavier than maybe you were on a normal day in which you're waking up. And so even then, so a lot of times I'll tell my clients, if it's one of those specific scenarios, or if they're out of town and they're stepping on a scale that they usually don't step on, I usually tell them just skip their weigh in that day, just so it doesn't cause them any sort of mental or emotional response. Because a lot of people do experience that when stepping on the scale. So many people have the fear of the scale, which is just a number, and so many things can affect it. So many
Hmm.
things can affect, and specifically, not to get really into the specifics of things, I guess, but for females, a lot of times their menstrual cycle, what time of the month it is, can also play a huge role in that weight as well. So, really tell people not to focus so much on that. Yes, it's great to have that quantitative data, but the qualitative data is great as well. Check-in photos, maybe once a week or every 2 to 3 weeks, seeing how your body's changing, specifically if it's someone who's training, because a lot of times, the scale may show you only dropped, maybe the scale showed you didn't drop any weight, but maybe within those 2 weeks you actually gained 2 pounds of muscle and dropped 2 pounds of fat. From a body composition standpoint, your body composition improves significantly, but from a scale standpoint, you're going to think as though nothing's working for you. So
Yeah.
you definitely have to track all
What's
the other data points.
what helps you the most to stay consistent and just like showing up, going to the gym every day?
Uh, Discipline, and so that's what it all really comes down to. A lot of people want to rely on motivation, which is ridiculous. I mean, motivation comes and goes. Discipline, discipline is what's going to keep you consistent. And so I always say, I'm not motivated to brush my teeth in the morning, but I'm still going to do it. And so it's just,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I said I'm going to do. I'm going to stick to it and do it. And so I'm not going to watch Rocky every morning to make myself go to the gym. It's just something that I decided to do. And so motivation is fleeting, whereas discipline is actually going to get you to your specific goals.
Yeah. Would you say like discipline's like the number one key factor in just everything? Like even like when you don't feel like going to the gym, I would say like the most important thing is you got to show up that day, even when you don't want to go. That's probably like the most important, Jay.
100%. Because those weeks that you are motivated, those are awesome. Take advantage of them. It's great. But you're going to feel so much better during those weeks when you realize, like, wow, I went to the gym even in the days that I felt terrible, even on the days I didn't
Yeah.
want to. And so
The days that you did feel terrible and that you didn't want to go to the gym, like what challenges or what challenges have you faced that keeps you motivated to go to the gym or just keeps you disciplined to go to the gym?
yeah, and so results, as well as not wanting to experience that feeling of letting myself down. And so, like, I could have made myself better, last week when I decided not to go because I didn't feel like it. That's a missed opportunity. And that relates to everything. And I know we're talking specifically about maybe my personal fitness journey here, and I guess that you can compare that to really everything. Let's say with you,
Mm-hmm.
someone else could be out there doing it. Someone who's maybe your competition. They were doing it that day. They're getting better than you. And so you can always think of it from that standpoint as well. But really, it's just trying to be better than you were the day before. And so that's really, if you know that the monotony, the consistency, that's what adds up over time. It's sure, especially when it comes to body composition based goals, there's really no instant gratification. And so it's really playing the long game, and understanding that gratification you're going to get when you reach these milestones or these markers or these things that you're really trying to achieve. It's going to be so much greater. Just because you put in the hard work over and over and over to achieve that specific goal. As far as finding small goals of maybe things that give you a little bit more of that instant gratification, whether that's in regards to body composition based goals, creating performance based goals throughout that period of time. So maybe I'll create, PR goals in the gym or something like that. Or, hey, I have a weight goal this week or something like that. That's going to add up over time, trying to progress on those smaller goals that lead to those body composition changes that you're looking for.
Yeah. So growing up, you struggled with weight and you were like the heavy kid, you say. How did that experience shape your relationship with fitness and nutrition? And how does that influence you
Yeah, it
like
led me
today?
100% to this field, and it really it significantly changed my life. I saw the role it played in family members' lives. I had someone very close to me who, during that period of time, was suffering from severe eating disorder. And I saw the role in which a nutritionist, dietitian played in her life, and completely changed her life. And that right there, I feel like just having those scenarios to where I could apply it from a personal standpoint, as well as I saw it externally, how, uh, nutrition and proper nutrition has the ability to change people's lives, not only from a visual standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint as well, and even productivity standpoint. The better I felt about myself, the more I can enjoy things in life. And that's really what I tell people is, you really can't fully enjoy or embrace certain things in life if you don't even feel comfortable in your own skin. And so we've all been there before to where, let's say we're on a vacation and the whole time you're thinking about how, oh, I don't, want to go to the pool or I don't want to go to the beach. I don't want to do this today because I don't want to be in a situation in which I have to take my shirt off. And so getting to a point to where at any point in time you are comfortable in your own skin, those things are great because that's never in the back of your mind as far as how you look. So you can fully embrace all those things as well. And so that's something that maybe is more personal, but I've seen it 100 times as far as that's specifically a way to motivate other people, is relate to them from that standpoint of, hey, you're going to really enjoy life so much more when you're not uncomfortable.
How do you push yourself to be comfortable in your own skin?
It's putting in the time leading up to it. So it's finding a healthy balance, finding a way to eat in which you can sustain, understanding that nothing tastes as good as being fit feels. And so nothing tastes that good to be able to throw it all out the window. And so that I always tell people, you know, everyone wants to be comfortable in their own skin. Everyone wants to look good. But a lot of times that leads people down the road of, crash dieting or these extremes. Whenever we always tell people don't diet hard, diet smart. Because weight loss through suffering is weight gained when you're sick of suffering. And that's something I like to say often to my clients. It's if it was something that, the harder you work, the better physique you're going to have. I'm sure I'd have the best physique in the world because I feel like I could really outwork anyone. But that's not the case. So there's smarter ways to diet, and that's really why my company and my business partner, William Grazione, who's very well known and respected in the industry. We have the educated dieter. And so we really help people diet in a smart way, something that's sustainable, using a lot of different dieting strategies to help people achieve the body composition that they're looking for, but doing it in a way that they're going to, hopefully, this is the last time in which they have to seriously diet if they do it the right way.
Yeah.
So,
For somebody that's just starting out on their journey of dieting, what's the typical diet they should start on? That'd be easy to
making
roll into.
small changes that lead to big results. And so usually I like to, whenever I get a new client come to me wanting to specifically um, optimize their body composition, first we like to see if something's going on internally making this difficult. But if we know it's just a healthy adult who just needs to lose a weight, and if it is someone who's maybe experiencing a lot of other symptoms, yes, we usually look over labs first, see if it is something hormonal going on or something like that. But if it's just a scenario in which someone needs to lose weight, it's usually just a matter of, hey, I first want to see what you're eating on a daily basis. Track what you're eating. Let me see how things are going. Let me see, kind of get an idea of where your maintenance level is at. And then from there, rather than taking food away, I usually like to just increase their protein intake because I'd say 99% of the time, people are eating significantly low amounts of protein.
So
Specifically,
I think I saw something somewhere where it's like if you eat more protein, it actually burns more fat. Is that true?
so
Or
protein out of all the macronutrients, fats, carbs, and protein has the highest thermogenic rate. So it does. Excuse me, it does require more energy to break down protein. So yes, it will increase your thermogenic rate within your body. So it does require that. It requires more effort to burn it. Protein is also the most satiating nutrient, so keeps you fuller longer. And so if you're consuming something that's more satiating, you have less likelihood to overindulge on things that are hyper palatable. And things that are hyper palatable are usually things that contain both fats and carbohydrates. They're usually, much tastier, things that we crave. Usually because, carbohydrates, things that have like sugar in them and things like that, from a chemical standpoint, usually cause a increase in dopamine. And so just like a drug, it makes you want more. And so usually if we're throwing in more protein, not only are we increasing satiety, we're also increasing thermogenic rate. We're trying to, at that point in time, encourage people to be more active. So it's also going to help with recovery and repair after you break down muscle tissue in the gym or something like that. So really, it's really hard to overindulge in protein, and it's also hardest to use protein to store adipose tissue. So it's usually not going to be stored as body fat. There's even some studies showing that there's a recent research study in which they had people overindulge, so eat in a caloric surplus, and that caloric surplus coming from protein. And they showed that even when eating in a caloric surplus with protein, those people actually improved their body composition. They increased lean muscle tissue and actually weren't putting on more body fat. And so even eat over consuming protein, it's very difficult to put on body fat.
so have you tried like the carnivore diet? You've heard of that before, right?
I personally haven't. I did do keto for many years, really like clinical strict keto. I did that following, I think I was, uh, don't know, I think like 18 or something like that. Whenever I was first diagnosed with having a pituitary tumor, whenever I first, and I know that we were planning on getting into that as well, but whenever that was the case, I was looking for ways in which I could also do my part. Aside from taking medication and things like that to improve my own health. And I knew just based off my own research that um, depriving the body of carbohydrates, in which tumor cells usually feed off of, I felt as though I was doing myself a service by not giving my pituitary tumor the ability to grow. And so that was kind of why I did that. So yeah, going into that a little bit, that was, like I said, around when I was 18. Felt terrible, lost a ton of weight, couldn't get out of bed, things like that. Had to figure out what was going on, did a bunch of lab blood work and MRIs, and they eventually came to the conclusion that that was the case, and that I wasn't secreting any of my own endogenous hormones. So I wasn't making any of my own hormones. That right there led me to become pretty passionate about just endocrinology. So learning about hormones, learning how to optimize my own hormones and my clients that were coming to me. And I became very passionate in that field, which right out of grad school is what I went into. And so I started managing. I first went in as a nutritionist for an HRT clinic, ended up being the director of their nutrition. And then following that, I actually I was the director of sales and managed the HRT clinics. I think it was 6 locations at the time or so. And that really was a way for me to put that into practice, work with the practitioners, the doctors that were on staff, to help people optimize hormone function. Learned a lot there, and ended up taking that knowledge to the educated dieter, where William and I, that's something we really focus on, is helping people optimize hormone function through the use of nutrition, supplementation, exercise, as well as in some cases, going ahead and referring them to some of our friends that are doctors in the HRT field. So,
How can you like naturally like boost your testosterone naturally? Like what are
there's a
ways?
number of things you can do. Number one is, I would say, if someone's chronically dieting, a lot of times, whenever you see like a natural bodybuilder or something like that, usually if you check their labs after they complete their competition, their testosterone is usually completely crashed. So I would say get out of a caloric deficit for a period of time, start weight training. Weight training is going to help increase that as well. Also increasing dietary fats. So dietary fats, cholesterol in itself is the backbone to testosterone. So making sure that you're getting plenty of healthy fats. So people trying to avoid cholesterol and things like that, a lot of times isn't the answer, because that cholesterol is the backbone to your testosterone, like I said. And then there is some supplementation you can do on the side. I know we discussed a second ago things like ashwagandha can be helpful. Obviously, zinc is going to be very beneficial. And in doing so, you can also maybe use some DIM just to keep some of that testosterone from aromatizing into estrogen. Some boron will help free up some of that testosterone from testosterone to free testosterone, the usable form of testosterone, and a number of other things. And vitamin
Yeah.
D.
Is there like a certain type of food that hires your testosterone other than other foods?
Specific types of foods, like I said, I would go with some things that contain protein and dietary fats, healthy source of fat, things like eggs, red meat's great, has a good amount of iron. But yeah, a number of things. It's going to be whole food sources are going to be the way to go there.
So one of these things I wanted to bring up to you, I think you can go pretty deep into this one. So what does intensity mean to you, like when it comes to training, and how do you help clients push through barriers while staying safe and focused?
Yeah. So intensity is definitely going to be individual. And so some people can take it to that place, some people can't. I would say that a way in which I can help people try to achieve that intensity is really focusing on progressive overload, meaning trying to progress from what they did the week before. So let's say if they're doing a specific training protocol, in this instance, let's just say maybe push pull legs. So maybe this Monday during push, they were doing, let's say dumbbell let's just say bicep curls or something like that, or doing a pull session, dumbbell bicep curls. So this week maybe their top set, they did the 30-pound weights for 12 reps, and they failed at 12 reps. Awesome. That means, and maybe their rep scheme that I wanted them to do was 10 to 12. Awesome. They made it to 12 reps. The next week, I want them to try maybe the 35 pounds. So they did the 35 pounds, but failed at 10 reps. Okay, try the 35 pounds again the next week, and you got it for 12. Awesome. Now move up to the 40s. And so trying to progress on a weekly basis, whether that's with weight, whether that's with wet reps, whether that's with tempo, using intensity techniques such as drop sets, supersets, rest pause, things like that, one way or another, you're progressing. The only way to build muscle is for your body to adapt to a new stimulus, pushing itself. And let's say that with that new stimulus, with your body adapting to it, the only way it can adapt to that, and once it does adapt to that new stimulus, the only thing it can do is build lean muscle tissue to be able to support that stimulus. So pushing yourself on a weekly basis. That's why a lot of people's bodies don't change, even though there's someone you've seen in the gym every single day for year after year. Usually they're going in there doing the exact same thing. They're not giving their body a reason to grow.
So over at your gym, what's the heaviest weight you guys have over there?
Heaviest
and what
weight,
do you usually go for?
I would say with the dumbbells right now they're 150, but you can probably see videos on my Instagram of me and my buddy strapping 25-pound plates to both sides of the 150s and using bands, which isn't safe, but the dumbbells weren't heavy enough. So we put up some serious weight over there. So that was about 200-pound, I think incline bench is what we did there. But it's also a powerlifting gym as well. So as far as the plates and things like that, they got 100-pound plates, and the weights can handle plenty.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we put up
That's
some
intense.
crazy weight.
So have you worked out with, like you mentioned that the Trent twins go to your gym too. Have you worked out with them
There
before?
today, actually. Nope, haven't hopped in and worked out with them before. But at my gym as well, and in this area, there's a lot of pretty well-known people in the field. I've been to plenty of gyms with like Derek Lunsford, and he's getting ready to open a gym, and he was Mr. Olympia last year, and he was third in the world this year. Yeah, a lot of people in the industry. Lane Norton, he's best friends with my business partner William Grazione. He puts up crazy weight, very well known in the industry. A big reason why I got into this industry was reading, Lane's books and following his content. He's also a Hoosier like us, so from Indiana, but he lives down here in Tampa, and he's brilliant and definitely a big influence to me, and what got me, another reason why I was so interested in this field.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to the thing you got diagnosed with when you were 18,
Yeah.
a tumor. So how does that affect your production? And then how did that lead you into the field of hormonal health? And what have you learned from managing HRT clients?
Yeah. And so as far as personally, I've just managed to live with it. It did affect me there at the beginning a lot, just because of how much lean muscle tissue I lost. And obviously it was scary for my family and things like that. But then, it was really a matter of, hey, this could be removed, but it might cause more issues than if we just leave it there. So left it there, and we just monitor it. I get an MRI every 2 to 3 years or so, make sure to monitor the growth. And then I obviously have to take exogenous hormones. So that's something I had to do, even start at a young age. So I manage all the side effects and things like that, just with managing my hormones exogenously, meaning that I take hormones since I don't produce them naturally. And yeah, that's kind of what led me in the field to trying to get into the, I started out in the nutrition field in regards to at hormone clinics right out of grad school, but then became pretty passionate about the other things going on there. And once again, like I said, definitely got really invested in that. And that's when I went all in with the educated dieter, where William and I specifically help people manage their own and optimize their own hormonal health in regards to, managing some of the things that they're dealing with, whether that's from a health perspective or just to optimize and improve their body composition. So it's been great. And so it definitely is another thing that kind of sets us apart in the field in regards to health and wellness.
Would sleep play a big role in that?
Sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, sleep is very important. I'm weird when it comes to sleep. I'm a sleepwalker, which is really weird. Especially, I was told I was supposed to grow out of this, but still don't. And I don't know how
You
much.
still sleepwalk today?
Yeah, could you imagine a 280-pound guy sleepwalking in the
Oh
house?
my
I don't know how
gosh.
my wife deals with it, but and yeah, I don't know. My dog, he'd freak out though if he freaks out. He starts barking at me, and he's big and scary too. So I saw you have a what is it? You have a Doberman?
Yeah. I'm watching the Doberman right now for a friend,
Oh,
but
you are okay.
I love dogs. Any kind of dog,
I have
I'll bond
a
with it.
Cane Corso, so an Italian Mastiff.
Oh my goodness. Uh-huh.
He's a big boy,
I love Connie Corsos too. They're
but when I
huge.
wake up, he wakes up. So kind of alerts my wife that hey, in the house like a crazy person. But it was worse
Oh
when I was
gosh.
younger, and it used to be at every
hmm
thing. Now it's hey maybe once a month or so. So it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, sleep's so important. That's that's one of the number one things somebody can do to improve their health is just try to optimize your sleep. Whether that's and that's even from a hormonal standpoint, that's going to really optimize things as far as going to bed at a specific time, blackout curtains, nice cool room, things like that, help your body produce its own natural melatonin. Um,
Are you big on the ice baths?
I get them from time to time, yeah. And so I have a friend who owns a CrossFit gym down the road, and he's got a couple there that I go and use. I would love to use them regularly. It's, tell you what, it wakes you up real quick. So
Oh,
you
absolutely.
have the ability to use one first thing in the morning, get yourself going. I couldn't imagine a better way to
hmm
imagine a better way to get your day started.
What for somebody that's just starting on their journey of like lifting in general to get better? What's like a piece of advice you would give them?
Um, I would say stay consistent and um, man, that's a good question. It's worth it. I mean, just stay consistent. I mean, if it's easy to fall off, especially when, and also, you can look to people as, um, you know, for guidance, support, and look at people as, hey, this is what I want to look like. But don't get in the game of comparing, because obviously you're at the beginning of your journey. I was small, very small whenever I got into my fitness journey, um, and you stay consistent with it. And so it's definitely worth it. Um, but yeah, man. Aside from that, and ask. Don't be scared to ask for advice. There's always in your field, way more than me. In my field, I have a ton of experience, education, and would love to help you. So reach out to people that know more. And so that's the thing. I'm always happy to say what I don't know, but I'll find you the right answer. I have plenty of people that I use as a resource, and so there's nothing wrong with saying you don't know and finding the answer. So um,
Yeah.
use people that know more than you. So reach out. How we all grow.
So I know you're like 280. How do you like hold on weight just for anybody? How can they hold on weight or gain more weight?
And I know it's going to get annoying saying the consistency thing, but that's really what it is, man.
It's just all consistency. Yeah.
It really is. And so if I have a day in which I undereat or don't feel like at this point, I mean, and most people shouldn't get to the point to where they're force feeding. I understand that I'm an extreme case here with a very specific goal. But in my case, that's kind of how life is right now. In order to kind of push these higher weights before I start a prep. Um, but yeah, it's understand what you're eating on a daily basis. As far as I like to track, have my data, as far as using some sort of tracking app, MyFitnessPal, my macros plus, there's 100 of them out there, something like that. Understand what your maintenance is and put yourself in a small surplus, in order to where that you're in a surplus in order to grow. And that's the thing, you have to be in a caloric surplus in order to grow. So make sure that you are in somewhat of a caloric surplus. Obviously, going way higher than that, you're going to get to where you're putting on unnecessary body fat. That's just going to require more time for you to get that off. After you are done with a building phase. But yeah, small surplus, and that surplus will continue having to grow just because you're going to reset a new maintenance. And so let's say that right now you're maintaining your body composition at 2,500 calories a day. Let's say you want to start growing, so you know you're going to have to eat 2,800 calories a day. At some point, that 2,800 calories is going to be now what you're needing to maintain your specific weight. So in order to continue growing, that surplus is going to have to increase more from your new maintenance. So that new maintenance is going to continue moving as you're putting on lean body mass, and so energy dependent tissue. But the more energy dependent tissue you have, the higher your metabolism. And so my specific maintenance is going to be much higher than you just because I have more energy dependent tissue. I have more lean muscle tissue. The more lean muscle tissue you have, it's kind of like a furnace. The more you need, the more fuel you need in order to maintain that because you're going to be burning it so quickly. And so, yeah, lean muscle tissue is energy dependent.
So I used to watch Mike Messner. He was big on like train till failure. Like
Yeah.
that's all. Like 2 reps or not 2 reps, 2 sets, like all to failure. Like what does failure look like to you? Because I think a lot of people will have more in their tank, but they don't go all the way to failure. Like, can you explain like what failure actually is?
Yeah, with each of my exercises, I usually like to push something. I usually like to push my top set somewhat near failure. And then, using other intensity techniques after I hit that failure set, maybe whether it's a drop set, and, beating the reps I did previously, or something like that. But yeah, failure is to where, hey, if I have a spotter, he's most likely going to have to help me with that last rep, or in a bench press, maybe pull it off my chest, something like that. Taking yourself, and that'd be true failure. There's nothing wrong with taking yourself to that point. Obviously, there's going to be weeks in which you don't, maybe like a deload week or something like that. I'm also a huge advocate for more higher volume training as well. I feel as though that's where I flourish. So I like to get in there and do a lot of volume. But usually with each exercise, I usually like to take at least one set close to failure.
How can you take over your mind when you're trying to push to failure? Because I know like a lot of times your mind's like, no, you're done. Don't go that extra rep.
Yeah, I guess some people have to take themselves to some dark points, I guess. That's usually not the case for me, but I work out with a guy who that's usually him. I don't even want to ask about some of the things that he's thinking about whenever he's taking himself there and cause himself to have nosebleeds and stuff. But it's for me, it's more just I want to do better than I did the last week, or I just want something that, hey, I got this for 10 last week. I want to get it for 11 this week. I just kind of crave progression. And I understand you can probably apply that to, yourself and even in other aspects of your life, trying to, you crave progress, trying to push yourself and become a better version of yourself. And I guess that's kind of where I go with that. Some people will, and then also, maybe using, music that motivates you. And so there's nothing wrong with finding things that motivate you at all. And so we all do that. And so maybe if it's a specific song that,
So you don't want to go the David Goggins route and just say, screw it, listen to your brain.
yeah, some people can do that. I prefer to not go that route, but
they're something special.
Yeah, we're not all David Goggins, man. I wish that was the case. I don't know though. He's a pretty hardcore guy.
He's tough.
Yeah. You read his book?
That Can't Hurt Me?
Yeah.
I've listened to a few of it, but I've not read it yet. I need to read that book soon.
Good one. That one will get you motivated for a little while. So you listen to that. You'll be going to the gym consistently for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I do want to ask you too. So what's for people? Wait, I already asked you that. 1 second. Yeah, what's a piece of advice you wish you could have known sooner before you started your journey?
I guess that could just play into taking it more from a mental health perspective, as far as, myself, and I know many other people have, gone through periods of time in which, you experience anxiety and things like that. And, really, I don't know, but as far as, how far I want to take this, but as far as like, I guess, I like and I know I sent you were asking me my favorite quotes. I also sent you a Bible verse, which is 2 Corinthians 4:18, which is, seek your eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Meaning, really, don't focus so much on what's going on right now, but focus more on the eternal. And I guess that I can take that more from a faith standpoint of, hey, we're only here for a small period of time. So, I was talking to my dad recently, and he was talking very much about that. He drew a line and then was saying, okay, now just poke a dot really on the beginning of the line. That right there is the point in time in which you're on this earth. And really, there's only one thing you have to answer, within that dot, and that's, hey, do I accept Christ? And boom, that's going to decide the rest of your life. And so that right there is the main focus. And I would just say, with all this, myself, always, pursuing better, in regards to, our lives, our business lives, personal lives, fitness journeys, things like that. Always making that number one, just making God number one. It's been something that, I feel as though I get older, I'm trying to be, more aware of, and trying to make my number one, even though all these, different outside things can get in the way of that. We always have things that we feel as though, okay, at this point in time, my life needs to take precedence, this and that. And I've gotten in, I've put myself in positions like that to where, okay, this is my main focus, where it shouldn't be. And so kind of, hey, that dot right there, answering that one question as far as I accept Christ, that's going to decide the rest of, that entire line that goes on forever, eternity, which I know is hard to grasp. That picture that he painted for me really did a good job of that. It really, I guess that maybe I'm a visual learner, but that picture really helped put that into perspective. I would say it's making God number one, and then, trying to be the best versions of ourselves is awesome. But then also understanding that, hey, we're here for a reason. It's, trying to, everything we do is for his glory. So, I try to do that, with all the knowledge that I'm lucky enough to have gained, and, continuing to learn as well, trying to be the best version of myself. It's all in order to help other people. And when I can, and when the opportunity presents itself, to be that light and to share, my faith, try to be more, try to take advantage of that.
Yeah. I will say one thing, that I feel like the older Richies have some crazy wisdom they can always share. I say anytime I'm around Adrian, he's always spitting wisdom at me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like just looking at it at a different like lens is really,
Yes.
They like see stuff in a different lens, and then you look at it that way and you're like, wow, yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty.
They have a lot of life experience, and it's always fun when they share it. It's usually, there's usually a comedic portion of it as well.
There's always that part.
I'm sure we could share plenty of stories that we've heard.
Mm-hmm. How do you lead into faith like every day? Like how do
I lean into it?
Use it daily?
Use it daily. And so, like I said, when it presents itself, you never want to come off as that, I'd say weirdo, churchy guy. There's always, presenting it, and a lot of times all that does is push people away. So when it presents itself, awesome, I'll share. But as far as just trying to really walk it rather than talk it, as far as the life, being an energy giver rather than energy sucker. And so whenever you go into a room, be someone who lifts everybody up rather than, coming in with, all, gloom and gloom and bringing people down. Be a person that people are happy to see. A lot of times the easiest way to, be that person in people's life is throw compliments at them, be complimentary to people. It can definitely do a lot, and can even open doors to different relationships that, maybe that relationship is mutually beneficial, even in other aspects of your life. So there's always those opportunities. And so treat people well. And so there's you'll never regret treating someone well. So be kind is really all I have to say.
Would you say like your circle has a big impact on that? Like who you hang out with daily?
100%. Yeah. So yeah, surround yourself with people who make you better. People who are, positive, and people that are pursuing something in their own life. And so, yeah, it's just surrounding, like you said, surrounding yourself with the right people. people that are dealt
How
with.
would you say, how could you put yourself like in the right room?
Hmm. Uh,
Because I'm sure you probably went down like the lonely path. Like you feel like you don't fit into like the new crowd, but you also don't fit in with like the older crowd because you're trying to grow from it.
yeah, and so that's the thing is, I feel like I've always been someone who can get along with everyone. I'm very non-confrontational. Um, so yeah, I would say that I mean, it's easy to find. It's easy to relate with relate with anyone. I would say in one way or another, finding something that you relate to, and opening that conversation. Um, you know, rather than opening with things that are more controversial topics, is always a great thing to do. And yeah, as far as surrounding yourself with the right people, luckily, got a large family, and so usually that opens a lot of doors. Um, but but yeah, I would say being open to new experiences, and you can seek out those opportunities to find new people. But a lot of times you're already, if you're someone who's out and about, those opportunities will come. So I don't think
Yeah,
it's too much
opportunities and
happening.
doors open.
Yeah.
When would you say is like a bad time, or let me see how to word that correctly. So I don't know if you watched like my first video, but it was like there's your future self and there's like in hide and seek, there's that warmer, there's the colder.
Yeah.
Like how can you like force yourself to go towards your future self instead of falling back into old habits?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that it's once again, I think that would take me back to surrounding yourself with the right people. It's easy to, if you're surrounding yourself with people who want to see you succeed, it's usually going to be hard to fall back into those old habits. If you're surrounding yourself with the right people that, hey, these are actually, these are my cheerleaders. These are people who want to see me do well, not the people who, maybe when they do see you doing well, those are the people that, a lot of times when someone sees you being successful, those are the first people that maybe want to put you down and things like that. And so, but yes, the people who are genuinely happy to see you do well, and you the same for those people. I'd say that that's great. And then always don't become stagnant in bettering yourself as far as whether that's listening to these type of podcasts, things help you grow and educate yourself to be a better person, learn from other people's mistakes, um, seek out people who are, like, we were just discussing my dad and some things that, maybe he didn't think was a big deal, but, stuck with me. But seeking people that, are, have more wisdom and life experience than you. And so really, and asking them questions. So really, like once again, I think that all just goes back to, being surrounding yourself with the right people.
Absolutely. Zach, thank you for joining the Ambition Blueprint.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Hopefully, so if you come up here in December, we'll have to get back on in
I
person.
will.
Get something
For
rolling.
sure. Yeah, I'm coming up for the holidays, so we'll sit around the round table and not be in different sides of the country.
Yeah, might be a little easier setup too this way.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I was a little hectic there, but we got it worked out.
It's all good.